Hello all, Jamie Rodgers here from Jamie Rodgers Crafts, and today I would like to introduce you to my brand new essential collection. Now this is the first release that we have had here at Jamie Rodgers Crafts for our brand new brand that just launched in June 2024. I wanted to kick things off with a collection that hopefully is going to inspire everybody from brand new crafters right the way through to people like me who have been crafting for 20 odd years, and really give you something that hopefully you're missing in your collections that's going to work together and actually unify what you can create. And by this I mean, when we look through the items, you're going to notice that certain elements, so like for instance the design of the flowers, goes all the way through from the stencils I'm going to introduce to you right the way through to the die cuts, so that when you make your projects every layer of it will match up and you're going to have that unity go through it. So not only are we going to introduce you to the collection in today's video, I'll also show you a few other bits and bobs that have been launched recently, and I'll also show you lots of samples that you could be creating with this collection too, to hopefully give you a bit more inspiration. Now, if you're watching this video and it's been shared on one of our wonderful social media platforms we all have a little look at who shared it for you, because there's a high chance it will be one of our brand new stockists at Jamie Rodgers Crafts. And hopefully in the description of the shared post will be links to their store to go on and be able to purchase all of the bits that we're talking about. I wanted to give our stores and our stockists the ability to share this video with you and actually link to where you can buy the products directly and help support our stockists. So then let's jump on in and have a little look at what we've got, shall we? So starting off, we have our sentiments. Now, every card or project you tend to make, or I tend to make especially, you're going to need something to put on it, aren't you? You're going to need that wording. That wording grounds the project. And this to me was quite an important part of it. So being a first collection, I couldn't bring you every sentiment known to man, but there will be more coming in due time, I assure you. But we're going to start off with love. So this is actually your die set. And in here, you've got 3 different dies. But I'd like to show you the boards, because I think you get more from the boards than you do from a pack, don't you? So when we have a little look here at the board, on here, hopefully you can quickly see, we have a separate scalloped edge, we have a separate plain edge, and then we have your actual word, or what I class as filigree die cut. Now your filigree die cut will actually stay in your cardstock. So if you would like to make this as an aperture on the front of your card, you absolutely can do. If you would like to multi-cut this and put it round a band to go around like a decorative candle or something along them lines, you can do. It will stay literally in the card and it's down to you to then trim it out. Now of course this means we can match in with all our nesting dies that we may already have, or ones that will of course be launching here at Jamie Rodgers Crafts in the future. Or we can actually use it with the dies that are coming up with the corner dies I'll share with you shortly. So lots of options on how you could trim that out if you want to. But of course, in the set, you've got these different edges to trim around that as well, so it can come out as a separate item. So for instance, down here, you can see I've used the straight edge with our filigree panel to create this part, and then I've used the scalloped edge for the gold panel behind it. Of course, if you prefer, you could take the With Love, pop it into the scalloped edge, and it would end up looking a little bit like this one up here. So it just gives you more options on how you can play around with these. Now I will let you into a little secret. Our next collection that we will be launching shortly is a Christmas collection, and there are some Christmas sentiments that will also come out. And I mention this at this stage because of the edges that go around them are going to be different. So again, the more you collect from this range, the more interchangeability you're going to have. And with that in mind, let's move on to our next sentiment. This one is our happy birthday sentiment. So again, in your pack, you're going to receive 3 dies, very similar to the With Love, but again, a little bit of difference for you. This time we have got a lovely decal edge running around our circle. So of course the decal edge will work with the With Love one, just like I mentioned with the Christmas ones which are coming up. So the more you collect, the more interchangeability you're going to have. Very similar idea, flat circle in this one, decal edge circle, and of course our filigree panel to cut in and stay in our cardstock. So giving you all the same options with the With Love, but of course with a happy birthday theme. The star in this one also cuts out as an open star. So if you're into doing your paper piecing and you'd like to continue on your colours from the rest of your card and pop that into there, very easy to do and very effective. Something also worth mentioning, and you might see this on our design team creations, especially we've got 2 design team members, Lynn and Ian, and Lynn has really gone to town with actually snipping these out and using them as a freestanding sentiment as well. So if you're looking at these wondering, can I snip them out, will they still look good? Do have a little look at our design team creations, because you'll see that's happened quite a bit and it's a really nice way to, again, get even more uses, more styles out of your die sets. So I mentioned we had sentiments, I mentioned we had sort of the filigree bits we put on the top, the finishing touches, the decorative bits. So let's have a little look at those, shall we? So this one is our elegant butterflies. And this again was important to me. I wanted to give you similar styles, not identical. I didn't want it to look like we just shrunk the designs down. I wanted you to have independent and different styles, but I wanted them all to match in and give you that sort of different style that you might not have had before. And I also wanted to give you sort of side-facing butterflies, which look great if you layer a couple of them together. Of course, you can back the wings with vellums and glitters and bits like that if you want to, but actually having that side profile is quite nice. And it was quite important to me as well to give you them facing in different directions, because we don't always want just one side profile of a butterfly, do we? We want to be able to land them on the flowers and the foliage and on the tops of the sentiments, bits like that, and you want to be able to infill them different places with them. So 6 dies in this set, giving you, as you can see, 3 full-on butterflies and then 3 side profile butterflies. And these are all individual dies, and this will come more important when we move on to the next set, because we're going to be looking at plate forms of dies instead. So don't forget, all of these should be tagged and linked above in the comments if you've been watching this as a shared video. So if you want to go through and have a little bit more of a detailed look at them, see all the prices and bits, don't forget to hopefully look at the links in the description to take you through to the stockist that's been sharing this video for you. Then we move on to our forget-me-not. So this, again, important to me. It was really lovely having complete control over the designs of these and how they were going to work, because it's something I've not been able to do before, but I wanted to bring you plate dies. And why I wanted to do this is actually sort of a multi-fold reason, I suppose. A, I'm forever losing dies. I'm sure I'm not alone on this. I spend more time on the floor trying to find dies I've lost than usually crafting. So especially when we get to the really small, delicate bits that we need these little finishing bits to go in the middle of the flowers. I don't want to be searching for them forever and a day. If it's all anchored down to one die, even when this does inevitably hit the floor, like all of my dies do, I'm going to see it. Even I can't miss this. So it's one easy way to actually make sure everything stays together and you're not searching for it. Delicate little bits. There will be collections where I'm going to have to bring you delicate individual dies for different reasons, especially if I think you're going to be trying to cut them in different colours. I don't want you to have to cut out that bit just in red and the rest all in white, and you'll be wasting cardstock and bits like that. So there will at times be individual dies, but anytime I can keep them all on one plate for you, I'm going to try my best to do so if I think it's going to make more value for money for you as well. And this brings me to my next reason. Whenever we work with flowers normally, and again, we all have different ways. I've got magnetic sheets, I've got masking tapes and bits like that, but I never want my dies to overlap and damage. So there's always that sort of air of leaving them open and waste of cardstock, because you're going to have them gaps in between. You're not going to have anything to cut out of, or I didn't. So instead, actually, by putting them all on one plate, I can bring these really close together and know that that means you're going to get more value for money out of your card. Card isn't cheap, we all know that, and we don't want to go wasting product and putting it in the recycling bin when we can be making more out of it. Now, these dies are designed as an A6 die. That literally means that out of an A4 sheet, you will be able to cut this 4 times to get the best value for money out of per sheet of card you're working with. Now on this die as well, we have multiple sizes of flowers. We've got them finishing touches to go in the middles as well. And you'll also notice you've got a side profile flower too. So again, if you want to build a little stem up and put the flower on it, that's going to work really nicely as well. Or of course, we can go to town building these up and shaping them. And there will be videos coming shortly showing you more techniques with the collections as well. But today's video is all about me waffling on a little bit, showing you these and showing you some finished samples. Then we move on. If we've got a flower, we need foliage, don't we? And again, we could often do put flowers and foliage together, but actually I think it's quite nice if we break them down into 2 separate dies, because we can give you more options with each set that way, more sizes, more variations. And it means that with future collections, you might just wish to sort of interchange your leaves or your flower heads, and it'll all work together. So we're going to build up a bit of a library as time goes on. You might notice it's our florist collection. There will be lots more coming in the florist collection. It's all part of our essential collection, but actually each of my dies have broke down into separate collections, which we will add to as time goes on. So with our leaves, as you can see, one plate again giving you all of these different options. So this set actually gives you 2, 4, 6, 8 different leaf cuts, and this is what they're going to look like when they come through. Now you're going to notice a few different touches on them. You've got different debossed elements going on into some of these larger ones. You've got little pinpricks going through on these ones as well to give that pierced element too. And they're slightly different styles, which again hopefully leads you to that sort of path of mixing and matching them with future releases of flowers too. You'll also notice that the leaves go off in left and right directions. So anytime you wish to build a corner element or a bouquet or a little banner or a wreath, you're going to have them going out in the different directions to give you that ability too. Then we move on. Now this is a bit of a different thing. I've always loved peel-offs. I know that's controversial in today's world, and we've sort of moved on in fashions, haven't we? And I know that it's one of them. In the UK, we refer to this as a Marmite sort of thing, isn't it? Something you either love it or you hate it, to be honest. I'm still on the side of loving peel-offs. I think they've got a great use and a great way and a great need. But I also understand that we've sort of modernised our card making a little bit in some ways. And actually what I wanted to do is bring you the same abilities we receive with peel-offs, but in a die format. So you can cut them out of modern cardstocks, fancy cardstocks, whatever you wish to be cutting them from, instead of being sort of held back to the colours and formats and finishes that peel-offs come in. So with that in mind, I wanted to bring you a straight line die. Now this die has 8 lines on it. We've got 4 thin and 4 wide. I've done a little board here to show you. I know this isn't exactly the most exciting board, but it shows you your lines. Now, I really love when a die cuts, the way you get that beveled edge to it, don't you? The die will push your card into it, it will shape it, it will give it that little dome. When we cut on a trimmer or we cut on a guillotine or any of them sort of items, again, I might just be talking about myself here, but I don't get that unity in size when I'm going that thin. I certainly don't get that beveled edge. So to me, a die was really important for quick speed, easy cutting, ability to have uniformed lines. And the lines are in 2 different sizes because they actually coordinate with the next dies I'm going to be sharing with you. But before we move on to those, there is so much you can do with these. If you're into doing your quilling, that is great to do. If you like doing your weaving, you can do that with them. If you just want to make a really simple card and you just want to make like a little tartan crosshatch and stick a sentiment on it, these are a real great way to do that. This has been such a popular die. I know you're all on board with the reasons behind it. And one of the bits we keep sort of going back to with this one is how small it is. So when you've got your little offcuts of card that we've all got boxes of in my case, actually being able to take a die like this, cut these borders out and have that use from that card. Again, we're being frugal, but it means we can get more value for money out of the supplies we've already got. So to me, this is a real fun one to have in my stash. Now, the other reason we had this one done is because it matches the next dies, and it's going to go with the next 2 sets we're going to be looking at. And to me, if I'm being honest, these ones are probably my favourites. I love these corner dies. So the first one we're going to look at is the butterfly corners. And these have a few different tricks to them, hence the very big board. So if we actually bring in the die set to share with you just first of all, you're going to notice straight away that you've got an outside edge. Now the outside edge with this one is the same decal edge as what come with one of the sentiments. So again, when we're looking at building up and we're looking at that unity between designs, that one's going to match in perfectly with the circles. So if you wanted to put the circle in the middle of this once it's cut, that's all going to match through your project. And there will, again, be more of these coming in time. I am talking quite a distance in time, but there will be more sort of edges coming or size options to match these and build up to give you more layers. But we are looking way into the future with it, but they will happen. So again, with this, you've got your edge, then you've got what we refer to as the X die. Now the X die, I'll bring in one to show you. This is your X die, if we can see that okay. I'll put it on the back of the board so you can see it hopefully. This one is just going to cut them 4 pieces. If you choose to, you can then put in the filigree piece and then that will cut that out as a separate corner. Let me get that round the right way so you can see it. That will go into there and it will cut it out as a separate corner. So when I flip the board back round, the X on its own is going to cut the gold bits. When we put the filigree panel into it, it's going to cut the white bits, giving you the options to layer them up and create these really delicate, really pretty corners with that little butterfly detail on the inside. Now, the other option we've got is because of these inside pieces do not have outside edges, because the edges are located within the X die, it means that we can take them and we can cut these in to create patterns and borders and backgrounds, just like I have on the strip here. And this could continue on as far as you want it to. So again, maybe you're making Christmas crackers and you want to do a little decorative edge to wrap around the edge of the cracker. Again, maybe we're doing banners or borders to go around our decorative candles. Bits like that, we could easily wrap this round and have that stand around the candle, the jar, anything like that that we're doing that's for a decorative purpose. It also means that we can take these and you can cut these to create different corner elements, larger corners, just by using a couple of them in the corner of your card, or you can go all the way around depending on the size of your machine and your project. So many ways you can use these dies. Then moving forward, we have got that decal edge panel. So you've got that separate panel to which you can then build up on top of if you wish to. But of course, we know the four corners fit perfectly within that as well as two. So if you want to, you can cut a filigree panel that looks very, very pretty, that could of course be the focal point to your card if you wish. So that's the butterfly corners. Then we move on. Oh, and worth mentioning as well, the end point to this is the thin version. So when we looked at the lines and I told you there was 4 thin and 4 wide, this is why. These butterfly corners match the thin lines. The next set of corners I'm going to share with you match the thicker line, giving you more options. And again, once you've got that line die, more corners are coming. In our Christmas release, there will again be a set that matches the thin side of the lines and one that matches the thicker side of the lines. So you've got more coming that's going to coordinate. And this is something I really want you to know is important to me. And as a brand, I want things to carry on and bring in life back to things you've already got in your collections. So when we're looking at them line dies, we're looking at these corner dies, even future on, there will be more bits that coordinate with those to give them more uses in your stash. I always think it's really sad when we get hold of a collection and we sort of use it for a time being, and then it inevitably, and we do this in a lot of life, we put it in a drawer and we sort of move on, don't we? Well, I don't want that to happen. I want you to be able to bring this out, use this time after time after time. Possibly we might bring new things, as I say, to sort of enhance them or add to them or give you more options, but I still want you to be able to use all of these bits. So you're building a collection, you're building a library, you're going on a journey with this collection that's going to work for a lot longer than what some of us sometimes do, which is quite short. We don't all, but sometimes. Then moving on, our regal corners. So this was important to me. The butterflies are great, but they're very spring summery styles. I also wanted to bring you something you could use all throughout the year, and dare I say it, maybe teenage cards, masculine cards, bits like that, to give you even more options. So this is our regal corner set. So again, very similar in design in the sense of having the different panels. So we've got the filigree panels, which are going to cut out with the outside X die. Then your X die is going to cut for you the backing plates to them, which of course are going to create this style. Or if you prefer, just like last time, we can cut them in to make the decorations you see. And then with this style one, we actually receive a scallop edge, which again, of course, matches the scallop edge, which is located on the sentiment. So once again, you can layer them up if you wish to. You can, of course, cut into them just like we show you with the butterflies as well, giving you more options. Now, one thing I would also say with both of the corner sets, these are great for being able to take your design from the outside of the card onto the inside of the card, because so often we decorate the outside, don't we, and then we leave the inside relatively plain. Even if we put insert papers or a stamped sentiment in there, sometimes it can be a little bit open and a little bit plain, and I really like having that continuity of bringing the outside in. So to me, these corners are the great additions to be putting into the sort of edges of your insert panels. They're also good to decorate your envelopes if you'd like to do that as well. So you can really flow all the way through your projects. And to be honest, if you wanted to, you could add them to your boxes. I'm giving you a little sneak here of something that I was going to share with you shortly, but you could add them onto your boxes as well. So everything matches all the way through your gift giving. Even your tags could have these on if you wanted them to. So many places you're going to be able to take them and make a uniform style for your creations or your gifts. Then moving on, we have our stencils. So I mentioned we've got stencils for you. These are my 8x8 stencils. Now there's a few reasons why I wanted large stencils. This is, again, I confess everything on these videos, don't I? And again, I might be on my own. Just because I say it doesn't mean everybody else goes through the same as I do. But I've got little stencils. And little stencils, and they say, you know, we can match them up, we can build them bigger. And you absolutely can. I struggle. So in my world, what I wanted to do was bring you larger stencils that could make really impactful backgrounds, but actually the designs within them can be stripped down to smaller projects. So I do like making big cards. My cards often 8x8s and thereabouts, but actually I know, especially around the world, a lot of people like to make smaller cards, sometimes due to postage, of course just down to style and preference. But I wanted designs like this one, for instance. This is our floral burst, that although it's a big stencil, you could just use that panel. It could just be an A6 card or whatever size you're used to working with. It's not a big design of one big flower that isn't going to work for you through multiple sizes. Now, of course, when we're looking at our stencils, and I mentioned that they're 8x8, another reason for this is your ability to emboss them. Now, if you've got a rubber mat or a tan mat in your machine, your die cutting machine this is, if you take your stencil, put it on, and you'll have to check your instructions per machine for this because it does vary quite a lot, and the mats vary dramatically down to size and width and that. But as a rough guide for you, if you take your plates and you put your stencil down, then you put your card on top, then you put your tan mat, your rubber mat, whatever type of mat it is that's come with your machine on top of that, and send it through the machine. What will happen is the mat will push down on the card and it will push into the openings that are on your stencil, and it will emboss that for you. So I'm a big fan of stencils because it sort of means I don't have to buy as many embossing folders. Now, of course, we've moved on a lot and we've got really deep 3D folders. These don't have that depth to them. They're only thin stencils, but I actually quite like a subtle background, and I'm going to bring this in for you. And embossing on white is never easy to share on camera, but actually when we look at how that looks, to me that is really lovely. It also means if we choose to ink it, if you're going to go over the top now with ink, if you emboss first, you will break the fibres in your cardstock normally by embossing it because we've applied pressure to the card. So when you actually go to ink that now, whether you use the stencil over the top or you don't, you should find that the edges of the part that is embossed will be more intense because the fibres are open and will take on that colour slightly more. Does not always work, but that's something I've found in my sort of experiments. So that can work really nicely. So the boards are just done with black ink just to show you how they're going to look, because I actually think that looks quite nice because it looks a little bit like we've got a really big background stamp, but instead, of course, it is just using the stencil. But of course, you can take them through to texture paste and all the different misters and mediums that you may already have. And without telling you too much, we might be bringing out shortly too. So there's lots coming of them sort of mediums and bits that of course are going to work with stencils, but you've got stuff in your stash already, haven't you? So when we're talking about inks, misters, all of them lots, you've possibly got some. They're going to work a dream too. Then we move on to our kaleidoscope. Now this is again the same butterflies you're going to see as what's located within the die sets. So giving you that option to build up through your layers, everything's going to coordinate through for you. And again, although it is an 8x8 stencil, quite small areas, so we could be picking out smaller areas and still having that as a lovely sort of feature on delicate cards. We then move on to our formation design. So same butterflies again being used, brought through from the die sets, added into the stencil format, but giving you that really cool, quite modern to me, background style that you could build up. You could add some gems onto here. If you're into doing your Zentangling, if you wanted to add on some sort of doodles and bits to them and some tangling, that would work really nicely too. Then the last stencil we have for you, this is the floral spray. And again, we're looking at an 8x8 stencil, but just like I've mentioned with the others, we could quite simply take out areas of this and use smaller pieces if we wish to. This one brings together, of course, the designs from the foliage. We've got the designs from the flowers, and we've got the designs from the butterfly. So when we are layering up our projects, this is what I mean once again, we're going to see them pieces being brought through from layer to layer to layer. This stencil also works really nicely if you match in the corner dies and pop them in the edges. You can even do all four corners, and then it looks like a ribbon running between the two corners, and that looks really lovely. So that completes our essential collection for you, our very first major release, bringing you all of those dies and all of those stencils. 8 dies in total, 4 stencils in this release. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I keep saying this, hopefully it's our stockists that have shared this video with you, and you will find links to all of the products that we've mentioned in the post that they've shared. So do have a little look for those. If you're stuck and you don't have a stockist already, you don't have a favourite stockist, do not fear. Head on to www.jamierodgerscraft.com and you will find a stockist list in there. I will make sure that the original video of this has that link for you in the description. So if you don't have a favourite stockist yet and you'd like to find one, you can click through on there and then you'll be able to find one of our stockists. Now currently we are based in the UK and we have got UK stockists, but we are adding international stockists as we speak. So keep an eye on that stockist list because it will continue to keep on growing and we will be spreading all over to try and make sure that all of our crafters worldwide can get all of our products. Now, at the same time we've released these, being a new company, we also wanted to bring out a few other bits. Now, I don't want to go through everything today because this video would go on and on and on for hours, or I would certainly. So just to give you a little snippet of other bits that you might like to see already. Now, I'll give you a waft of this red card quite a few times. This is our romantic red cardstock. This is part of our elite colour range. It is a 300 GSM, so 300 GSM. That means it is strong enough to be building your card blanks out of. You can build your boxes. So I bought in this little box earlier. That's a rigid box made out of these sheets of card. It is great for building. I love to build constructional items. There is already a video up showing you our tower card that is made from our elite cardstock. We need strong cardstock to make them buildings, make them constructions. This is what this is all about. It's currently available in 17 different colours, so there is quite an array for you to choose from, but it is a great building block to be working with. It's also acid free, so again, I mentioned earlier I'm an avid scrapbooker. If you wish to use it in your scrapbooking, you absolutely can do. You can stamp on it, you can die cut it. When we get onto the card samples, this is the only card I've used, and I've done all of those really delicate dies from this cardstock. So again, die cutting is great, embossing is great, stamping is great. It's just an all-round really good cardstock as a base for you to be working on. Now this comes, as I mentioned, in a whole host of colours. Now I'm not going to take you through all of them, but do check out the website, or again check out with your stockists to see all of those. There is also a silver mirror, a gold mirror. Oh, and this is lovely. Craft paper. Let's see if we can get this off. Let's show you the craft paper. So the mirror cards, again, are available. There is an acetate too, so it's a really nice thin acetate, great for making your shaker cards and bits like that with it. And then there is craft paper. Now this was the first time I'd ever seen craft paper, and we sourced this because it is great for die cutting and making flowers. You can also ink it, form it, fold it. It's just a really cool product, and we've got that in 50 sheet packs. So if you're looking to add to your order, that might be something you'd like to add in because it's really cool. I will also mention that our white is a slightly smoother finish to the rest of our colours. This is our Elite Super Smooth, and it's got a really lovely finish to it. I really love this white card. It's slightly different in its formation, but it's a great one to work with. And lastly, on the card to mention is that our Raven Black. That is the only exception to the rule when we talk about weights. I've been telling you how they're 300 GSM. Our Raven Black is actually 270. So it's just slightly lighter, but again, still great for your constructions, building up and working with. And then the last bit is our Pebble Grey. Now, you have all been so on board with this. It's something that we will be bringing more options out with shortly, if I can. We're still trying to iron out the kinks on that one, but hopefully there will be more colorways of this style coming, because what we have created is 8x8 Pebble Grey cards and Pebble Grey card stock. So this means that you've got your card blanks and you've got the same card colours to do your mats and layers with. And you might wonder, why grey? You know, traditionally we make our cards from ivories and whites, and absolutely that's lovely. But as I mentioned earlier in this video, I've been making cards for over 20 years. It's sometimes nice to pick up something you've not worked with before. And personally, I hadn't seen grey cards. I certainly hadn't seen 8x8 coloured cards, and I wanted to have a different base to work with, because of one of the big reasons is it changes everything I would do and how I work with them. I start suddenly looking at, and we go back to our colour charts, I start suddenly looking at colours like this. It isn't necessarily, I love yellow, it's probably my favourite colour actually. I once had a car very similar in this colour, but I'm going off on a story now. You don't want to know about that. But I love colours like this, but tend to rarely use them in my crafting. But I bring that in, I put it with a polar white, and I bring in the Pebble Grey, Suddenly I think I've got a really lovely trio of colours to work with. And it's that grey that's given me that sort of base that I feel that this yellow works really nicely with. So you might not agree, you might see other colours in the range that you want to work with. I also really like, for instance, going sort of slightly darker, bringing in our romantic red, white and the grey. I just think grey is one of them colours that goes with everything, but yet somehow in crafting it's not one I see that many options of, and certainly not card blanks. So you might like to check these out. As I say, 8x8, they come in packs of 10. They're a 300 GSM card blank again, so great for if you want to score it, fold it, build it. And of course you can trim them down if you want to. We all know how to make envelopes and boxes, don't we? So if you do want to cut them down and get more out of them, you absolutely can do. But that's our first sort of venture into having card blanks with matching card, and it's one that I think we'll be adding more to as time goes on. So again, keep an eye out for those, but certainly at the moment these are available. So let's delve on in. Here we are, half hour in, and now I'm saying let's delve on in. Should we have a look at a few samples? Let's show you what you could be creating with this little lot, and show you how it's all going to come together. I've then added on my flowers, crinkling them with the tweezers to give that little bit of texture to them, and added in the happy birthday to the middle here, and of course the butterflies over the corner. You will also see the octagon trellis stencil, 8x8 stencil, but embossed in the background. That's another one of our stencils we've also just launched, and more of an everyday one. There's quite a few up on our website and available, and of course available at our stockists, so do look out for those as well. But there will be more stencils coming as time goes on as well. Then this one's working on our pebble grey cardstock. So if I show you this bit from this side, because I know some of you might want to know about the score measurements, the actual card blanks are 20 centimetres in width and height. So I've scored it every 5 centimetres. That's approximately every 2 inches all the way across there, so that this breaks down into these 4 foldable panels. I've then created panels that I've glued onto them. So again, this is why when we was bringing our products together, I wanted the same pebble grey in single sheets as in card blanks, so that I could add on panels to my card blanks and everything was going to coordinate. So the untrained eye, the non-crafters in the world, I'd like to think they're not going to notice that these are separate panels that have been added to the card blank, because it all coordinates, it all matches perfectly. I've then used the same cardstock to go through and do all the different cuts with. So you can see throughout the panels, we've got butterflies that we've got on these ones, coming through to the scalloped panels from the corners, being used on these areas. And then of course, we've got the happy birthday sentiment on the front here, as well as the butterflies, the leaves, and of course our flowers. So it really shows you how you can bring an awful lot of the elements together from this collection to work on just one project if you'd like to. And if you're into your scrapbooking and mini albums, quite easily we could add in more pages, more folds, and add photos throughout those as well, still finishing it off and decorating it with the foliage, the flowers, the butterflies, and all the other elements. Now we had a little look at the corners in that sample that we was just looking at, but let's bring back the butterfly corners and show you some cards and projects made with these ones. So this time I've taken it and I've done like I show you on the board. I've used just the filigree insert panel, multi-cut that to actually make up the background. I've left the middle underneath here solid, so I could then add on my happy birthday onto the top of it. This time with the leaves, or the petals on the flowers, sorry, I've taken them and I've pinched them forward to bring up to make some really 3D flowers. Again, just showing you more options on how you can build them up if you would like to. Adding in a few of the bits of foliage underneath that one. Now we mentioned using these as photograph pockets when we're talking about the corners, and that's exactly what I wanted to do here on this sample. So I've gone for a 12 by 12 card in black, I've added on some of the gold mirror card, and then I've built up on top of it, and of course using our polar white. I've added a ribbon across the middle here to hide the join between my cardstock levels, just in case you don't have any 12 by 12 to hand and you want to be using the elite cardstock. Then I've added on the decorations. So of course we've got the butterfly corners, we've got the flowers. This time the flowers have been crinkled with tweezers. So I've literally just taken my tweezers, worked all the way across each petal and then formed them together. I've then added in foliage. I've got the little sentiment panel here as well for my journaling, and I've added on some butterflies as well, showing once again why we need them sort of half butterflies going in different directions so we can land them in different places on our projects. Then moving on, we'll have a little look at our regal corners. So bringing these ones in once again, we have got our set of regal corners, 6 dies in the actual set. And when we spoke about the Elite card, I said about one of my favourite colour combinations, being that Sunbeam Yellow, the Pebble Grey and the Polar White. This is one of the cards I've created with that trio of colours. If you'd like to see different trios of colour inspiration for our Elite card, check out my Facebook page. It's Jamie Rodgers Crafts on Facebook. And I put up a post on the 14th of June showing you different trios of colours, my favourites that I'm working with. So this is one of the ones that is shown on there. This is another one, but there's quite a few between the different Elite cards showing you how you could use those colours to possibly give you some inspiration you might not yet have thought of, and hopefully inspire you to get creative in different colours. Now on this one, I've taken the flowers, I've used a ball tool and an embossing mat and formed my petals to give me this really cool textural style floral, and I've added in the foliage once again, working with the scalloped edge from the corners and the corners to build up the middle part, and then of course using just the X dye to make up the background, and then the delicate dye with the X dye to make up the top. So moving on to our next one, so this time we're going to go for the rose petal pink, the pebble grey and the polar white, and just using those corners to make up multiple layers, adding in the sentiment of the happy birthday, but leaving it in the cardstock this time, adding in that little star. And again, with our flowers, we have gone around with tweezers to form those up and build them up. Again, bringing in that foliage. And then lastly, for this set of dies is again one of these sort of background panels that I've created, just taking that filigree panel and using it to make a really lacy background. Again, working with a craft paper coloured with aged mahogany inks. I've done the flowers and of course the with love, and again using through the layers. Bringing in again the foliage dies and the butterfly dies just to add them sort of extra pieces to this project. Then moving on to our lines. So of course, every time we're looking at these corners, we know that the lines are going to match in and it's all going to come together. So our line die is going to cut the 8 different lines, or 8 lines for you, 2 different sizes, so 4 of each, that match both corners. Now this card here, this layer, this one here, is actually created with the line. Now you might think that's a matten layer, like the one below it here. It isn't, it's just that line. So when we're looking at value for money from our cardstock, instead of cutting a sort of 7-inch square out and putting it underneath that white layer, by using our line die to create these sort of faux matten layers, we're really saving money again on our card, and we could have done that out of the same sheet that we've been cutting our corners and our flowers out of. So again, optimizing the amount we can get out of our sheets each time. So this is using our Sail Away blue card for our flowers, shaped again with our tweezers, using the same colour card for the corners, using the X die from this set to make those back pebble grey pieces, and then of course the with love focused on the centre. Now this is a card that went down really popular. This is using a few of our different shades of blue. So we've got the night sky navy, we've got the pebble grey, and we've got that lovely soft blue. This one is our seashell blue, all on top of some polar white card. Now I actually cheat when I do this. Watch out for a video, because I will be doing a video showing the technique, but it's actually put onto a self-adhesive sheet, one of our Jamie Rodgers Crafts self-adhesive sheets, and then adding talcum powder over the top of it to save me having to glue down all of the individual pieces. Keep an eye out for that video to come shortly to show you how to do that technique. Again, just building up our happy birthday on the top here, and dare I say it, quite a masculine card maybe. Of course, I've gone for those blue shades, doesn't have to be for masculine, but it's nice to show that this collection can go through all genders and times and reasons that we could be making and creating. Now, of course, on the inside we have got our Decadent Ivory from our Elite cardstock, which of course matches the die cut on the front here, and that's onto one of our Pebble Grey cards as well. Then moving on, the butterfly die set. We've had a lot of looks at the butterflies, haven't we? But actually these butterflies give you so many options between the 6 different dies, come together to create some great cards. So this again, multi-fold card done on our Decadent Ivory card. If I turn this over, you might be able to see the background here, literally just a few equal panels. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces, all scored at, I'm going to say roughly 2 inches, but you could certainly play around with that to create this zigzag. And then I've added on extra panels to make these out to slightly larger areas. I've then brought in the butterfly corners and put them around the edges, used the line die to make up the edges where needed, and then decorated using our flowers, our butterflies, and our with love sentiment, all cut from our cold craft paper pack as well, which don't forget you get 50 sheets in that one, so you get an awful lot from there. Then moving on, we're going to have a little look at our constructional piece. Now I've already done a video with this. This is our tower card. It actually collapses down and goes flat. It's made out of our decadent ivory and our rose petal pink card, and decorated with the butterflies, the panels from inside the squares or the outsides of the squares, the with love sentiments, and of course our butterflies. But on that video I do share with you how you could be making that out of the flowers as well, so a few different options, but the butterflies make a great panel to go between them. I also shared with you earlier this little box, bringing in those large butterflies to go around the edges of the box to make quite a nice focal point, working this time in the night sky navy and the decadent ivory, adding on the butterfly corners to the tops of the box too. And then our last samples to share with you come to us from our sentiments. So we have our Happy Birthday sentiment set, of course giving you those 3 dies we looked at earlier, your decal edge, your plain edge, and then your filigree Happy Birthday panel. Now bringing these into your cards, very easy to do, using the outside edge and of course our filigree panel to cut out our wording, and then layering that on top of one of our scalloped panels, which is going to come to us in the next set we look at, the With Love. Adding on the corners in the background to make the faux embossed look, using the corners again to cut into the actual card to make these decorative areas, which of course are foam padded on top of some of our seashell blue card. So this one is polar white, seashell blue, and of course our pebble grey card coming together. Then moving on, we'll have a little look at this one. So Happy Birthday, this time playing with some inks, using our trellis stencil to create this cool background. Again, just using some ink over the top of that one, bringing in the Happy Birthday to match in. And then moving on to our next one, this time we're working with the polar white, the rose petal pink, and the pebble grey on a pebble grey card blank, building this all up together, bringing in the lines, and this is quite nice. Where you've got the 2 different size line dies, you can actually stack them. So you've got the rose petal pink on top of the pebble grey to make that double stacked line. We've of course got the Happy Birthday layered on top of a decal edge from in that set. We've also brought in our flowers, which of course are really beautiful built up. And we've got our foliage too, not to mention our little butterfly. Then on to our last set to share with you and samples, we've got our With Love sentiment set. So again, 3 dies in that one, this time with your sentiment coming with the scalloped edge. Bringing this into our cards, we have got some really lovely finishes going on here. This is our gold mirror card with our potion purple cardstock. For the flowers, I've just gone around them with the tweezers again to shape them, and I've used a gold marker pen to go around the edge to give that little gold halo to them. I've then added in the With Love in the middle here, stacking that between the polar white and the potion purple. And then our last card, and we show you this card actually a little while ago for the lines when we looked at it in the Sail Away blue, but this time I've gone for the seashell blue, and we've brought this in, toned it down slightly, but the lines are used again, the corners are used again, and of course the With Love is once again the feature in the middle of this one. So hopefully that gives you some inspiration on what you could be creating when we're looking through this essential die set. You can see how it all works together. All of the elements are going to interchange. Everything is really uniform. It's really easy. It's really fun. And you can take them from different size cards, different styles of cards, all the way through to your constructionary panels and projects, even your boxes. It all works brilliantly. And then again, if you do want to take it onto your MDF and you want to make little sentiment panels or little gift tags, bits like that, it's all going to go together for you. So I hope that's given you a little bit of inspiration on what you could be creating with this collection. So thank you so much for joining me for our launch collection and a little look through all of the essential bits that come with that. All 8 dies and 4 stencils, not to mention the incredible elite cardstock and the pebble grey card blanks. There's so much going on here at Jamie Rodgers Crafts. It's just lovely to actually be able to bring it all together for you in one video, hopefully share with you lots of inspiration that you might not like all of it. You know, that's what craft's about, isn't it? It's what life's about. But if I can give you a few ideas here and there that you can take away and make it work in your style, in your colours, in the way you wish to craft, hopefully I've achieved that today and give you that little boost of inspiration. Now, as I keep mentioning, hopefully this video has been shared by one of our incredible stockists here at Jamie Rodgers Crafts, and if it has, there's a high chance they will have followed and popped the links above for you to go and shop and see all the items if you would like to. So if you get stuck, then just let us know and we will certainly help you out with that. Once again, you can always find our stockist list on our website, which is www.jamierodgerscrafts.com. If you head on there, you'll see the stockist tab and you'll be able to find your local stockist or your favourite stockist on there. Of course, if there is a stockist that you like to favour that isn't already stocking Jamie Rodgers Crafts products, give them a little nudge and tell them to get ordering so that you can get them from your favourite stockist. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope that you've enjoyed it. Please let me know in the comments if you have. And don't forget, let me know which of the stencils is your favourite. Thanks for watching. I look forward to seeing you all again very, very soon. Bye for now.